Do you ever notice how New Year's Eve has this magical way of making people lose their minds? Think about it. For some, it's all about resolutions, gym memberships, and promises to quit bad habits. For others, it's a wild party with fireworks and too much champagne. But what if I told you that in Lusaka, Zambia, one man, a police officer no less, decided to take celebrating the new year to a whole new level? And I'm not talking about popping a few extra bottles. No, this man unlocked prison cells and set criminals free. Such an unbelievable act. It's understandable that the holiday season being a time of many festive activities and celebrations can make people act out of character. But what's the line? What's the boundary between being festive and being, well, completely reckless? This story, it's about that line. And let me tell you, Detective Inspector Titus Fury didn't just cross it. He leaped over it with the enthusiasm of someone who thinks they're the life of the party, but ends up ruining the whole thing. You're watching True Crime Stories 24/7. Thanks for joining. Please do well to subscribe and like this video to support us. Let's rewind to New Year's Eve in Lusaka, the capital of Zambia. The city is alive with anticipation. People are out in the streets, bars, and homes are buzzing with laughter and music, and there's a palpable sense of hope in the air. Everyone is ready to leave behind the challenges of the old year and embrace the possibilities of the new one. But at Leonard Chilo Police Station, a very different kind of anticipation is brewing. Now, let me introduce you to Detective Inspector Titus Fury. On a normal day, Fury is the guy you'd call to restore order. A respected officer, known for his sharp instincts and dedication to the badge. But this wasn't a normal day, was it? On this particular evening, Fury wasn't the embodiment of law and order. No, he was, let's say, in a festive mood. And by festive, I mean drunk. Yep, the man walked into the station not as the enforcer of rules, but as the embodiment of holiday chaos. Fury stumbled into Leonard Chilo Police Station, his uniform slightly disheveled, his words slurring just enough to make people uneasy. Now, I'm not saying it's unheard of for someone to have a little too much to drink on New Year's Eve, but for a police officer on duty, that's a whole different ballgame. And here's where things get unbelievable. Inside the station, Constable Sarah Banda was minding her business, probably counting down the hours until she could go home and celebrate with her family. But then in comes Fury, eyes glazed and an air of mischief about him. He spots the cell keys hanging by the desk, and just like that, he makes his move. "Hand me those keys," he says, his voice tinged with authority, but wavering just enough to give away his condition. Banda hesitates, unsure of what to do. I mean, what would you do? Here's a senior officer, clearly intoxicated, demanding access to the cells. It's a rock-and-a-hard-place situation, isn't it? But before Banda can fully process the absurdity of the moment, Fury grabs the keys, his movements quick but unsteady. With keys in hand, Fury marches to the detention area. Now, keep in mind that these cells aren't holding shoplifters or people who forgot to pay parking tickets. No, the detainees inside are facing charges of robbery, assault, and burglary. These are serious offenders. But in Fury's mind, they weren't prisoners anymore. No, they were fellow revelers waiting to be liberated. As he reached the cells, he declared with the grandiosity of a king addressing his court, "You are free to cross over into the new year." Imagine that. A seasoned detective standing there like some drunken messiah, throwing open the gates and inviting chaos to spill into the streets of Lusaka. And chaos did spill. 13 detainees to be exact. 13 people who should have been facing justice were now running free, blending into the night as fireworks lit up the sky. Can you imagine the scene? The confusion? The disbelief? The other officers stood frozen, probably thinking, is this really happening? And as quickly as it began, it was over. Fury, like a magician who just performed his greatest trick, disappeared into the night, leaving behind an empty cell block and a station full of stunned colleagues. Now, I know what you're thinking. This can't be real. Oh, but it is. And as absurd and almost comical as it sounds, the fallout was anything but funny. Within hours, the Zambia Police Service launched a manhunt, not just for the escapees, but for Fury himself. The public was outraged, demanding answers and accountability. How could a trusted officer betray his duty in such a spectacular fashion? What does this say about the system, about the checks and balances that are supposed to prevent things like this from happening? But here's the kicker. Amidst all the outrage, there was laughter too. Because sometimes when something is so bizarre, so far removed from what we expect, humor becomes a way to process it. Social media lit up with memes, with people jokingly asking if Fury was accepting invites to their New Year's parties. One comment even drew parallels to a similar incident in 1997, when a judge released 53 detainees because they'd been held without trial for years. But while that was a stand for justice, this was pure, unfiltered chaos. And so, as Lusaka woke up on New Year's Day, the city was left with more questions than answers. Where were the escapees? What would happen to Fury? And perhaps the biggest question of all, how did it come to this? But that's just the beginning of this story. Because as wild as this night was, the aftermath, well, that's where things really get interesting. Stay tuned. As the news of the incident spread like wildfire, it became clear that this was no ordinary New Year's Eve mishap. The Zambia Police Service had a crisis on their hands. 13 escapees were loose in the city, some of them dangerous criminals. Imagine the tension in the air. The streets that had been alive with celebration now buzzing with whispers of fear and speculation. Families locked their doors. Shop owners checked their security systems twice. Lusaka, normally vibrant and welcoming, seemed to hold its breath. The police wasted no time. A manhunt was launched with officers combing the city, questioning anyone who might have seen the escapees. But let's be real. In the chaos of New Year's celebrations, how easy would it be to spot a fugitive? The suspects could blend in effortlessly among the revelers, vanishing into the night like smoke from a firework. Meanwhile, Detective Inspector Fury became the talk of the town, not in a good way. His name was on everyone's lips, from news anchors to taxi drivers. How could someone entrusted with enforcing the law betray that trust so spectacularly? Was it just the alcohol? Or was there something deeper at play? As the police closed in on Fury, questions about his motives and mental state began to surface. Was this a one-off incident fueled by too much holiday cheer, or a sign of something more systemic? And let's not forget the public's role in this unfolding drama. Social media was a storm of opinions with hashtags trending nationwide. Some users expressed outrage, demanding accountability and stricter regulations for law enforcement. Others couldn't help but see the absurdity of the situation. One viral post read, "When your New Year's resolution is to party harder, but you're also the law." The memes kept coming, turning Fury into an unlikely, albeit infamous, holiday icon. But for the families of the escapees' victims, there was nothing funny about this. For them, this wasn't just a bizarre headline. It was a violation of justice. These were people who had trusted the system to hold those accused of crimes accountable. And now, that trust was shattered. As the manhunt continued, a team of officers finally caught up with Fury. He was found not far from the station, disheveled and clearly realizing the gravity of his actions. The arrest, while a relief to many, marked only the beginning of a larger reckoning. What led to this night of chaos? And what would be done to ensure it never happened again? But don't think for a second that this is where the story ends. Oh no, there's so much more to unravel, because what happened next would send ripples through Lusaka and beyond, raising questions about law enforcement, justice, and the thin line between duty and personal demons. As the dust settled, the Zambia Police Service took swift action to address the fallout. Fury faced immediate disciplinary action and legal proceedings, becoming a symbol of a system stretched thin and in desperate need of reform. The escapees, meanwhile, were not all at large for long. Several were captured within weeks, thanks to relentless efforts by law enforcement. But others vanished completely, leaving behind only their case files and the unsettling reality that justice had been delayed once more. For the people of Lusaka, the incident left a bitter taste. It was a story that highlighted the flaws in a system meant to protect them. It raised questions about oversight, accountability, and the pressures faced by those in positions of power. And while some found humor in the absurdity of it all, others could only see the cracks in the foundation of their trust in law enforcement. As we close this chapter, it's clear that the story of Detective Inspector Titus Fury is more than just a bizarre New Year's tale. It's a cautionary story about the human side of those who enforce the law, their flaws, their pressures, and their moments of weakness. It's a reminder that even those tasked with upholding order are not infallible. And most importantly, it's a call to ensure that systems are in place to prevent such lapses from happening again. To you, my viewers, what do you think about this incident? Kindly drop your thought in comment section below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Zambia's most shocking true crime stories, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Stories 24/7. We bring you gripping stories of real-life crimes from around the world, uncovering the human stories behind the headlines. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay safe. Thanks for watching. God bless you.